Wanted to show you how to make one of these crossy road figures, but really the most important step is showing you how to use extrude and bevel. Um, and really you can take any flat shape and extrude it to give it this look. If you look closer at this, we've got a bunch of different parts, and these are just shapes with extruded edges. So the major piece of the chicken is this big tall rectangle here, and then I've got a bunch of other supporting parts there. So we'll show you how to make the bevel, the extrude and bevel, and then give you some tips that may help along the way here. So you can really extrude any shape. It can be a letter, it can be circles, anything, text that you've created and turned into an outline, an ellipse. So I'll just start with a basic rectangle to show you how it works, and you can take it from there. When you draw the shape out, you have the 3D option here. There's a revolve and there's a rotate option as well. For this I used only extrude and bevel though. And I think the key step when you're creating it, you obviously want to be able to see what you're doing, so you want the preview button check marked. And it defaults to a specific setting for your extrude and bevel. So depending on how you want to extrude this, you may definitely want to change this. The position, you can change it to some kind of preset options here to look at. And I think the main thing is keep track of this, how you want it to extrude. The depth is how far back that extrusion goes. You also have some other options here for how you want to bevel the edges of the shape, which is kind of cool. And then finally, if you go to more options here, you can change the way the lighting hits the shape. So where is that light source coming from? How bright do you want everything around it to be? So what I did for the Flappy Bird was I kind of got this shape close to the angle that I wanted it to be. So something like that-ish. And then once I was like, yeah, this is pretty close, I kind of fine-tuned it using the increment. If you use your arrow keys on the keyboard, you can kind of slowly adjust these numbers. So up and down on your keyboard. And then I just kind of got my depth correct. The cool thing about it too is even after you've applied it, you can change the shape size. So like if I know it's too tall, I can bring down the height a little bit. Instead of trying to remember those numbers over and over, what you can do for the other pieces is you can just take that and copy it, send it behind the other object, and adjust the size accordingly. So if you know you have a smaller piece that you've got to put on, you can do that. And the other thing you can do, which is kind of cool, is you can pull up the options to this piece. So if you have this object selected, over here you have an appearance menu, and this shows you all the things that you've done to that object. So one of them is extrude and bevel, and I can double click here and I can say, okay, let's lower the extrusion, because I know if I want to make that piece, it's not going to be as deep as this. It's going to be way less actually. So let's try, I don't know, 60 and see how that looks. That looks pretty close. And then it's a matter of just kind of lining it up and getting it into place. So you can kind of just move things around that way. Once you're close, you can use the keyboard to increment your shape. And the cool thing too is now that I have one object, I can grab other pieces. So if I want to do the front, I could, get a copy of this, maybe copy this shape back here. Oops. Remember, hold Option to make a copy, and then you can completely change the color, and you'll have some other pieces to work with. Just to point out a couple other really nice features about the 3D extrude and bevel, and I'll kind of delete some of this stuff here, is you have the capability to do art onto shapes as well. So if I have a simple circle shape here and I decided to extrude that, let me change the color so you can see it a little bit better. You have a really nice map art feature that lets you um, add designs to different surfaces within the shape. So if you wanted to put something on top of the shape, you can choose to put like a vector or something like that on there. So anything that you want to place onto a shape as well can be done by adding it to the symbols library here. So if I want to add anything to um, a surface on a 3D extrusion, I can put it in the symbols library and it'll let me do that.